Hey there! I'm Coach Troy Jacobson and welcome to this new virtual reality training DVD in our On the Road series. We're here in Tempe, Arizona at Tempe Beach Park, and we're going to preview the Iron Distance bike course here in Arizona. Now we're going to do one loop of the course, so basically if you're at home and you're training to do the event, you might want to do a couple more, put the DVD back to the beginning and do a couple more. However, it is a hot day, it's going to be a fast and flat course, so make sure you get used to being on your aero bars a lot and just get ready to ride a nice aerobic endurance effort, and you'll get the maximum benefit from this particular DVD. Also, make sure you have plenty of fluids with you, because if this is one of your longer rides, you want to make sure that you're hydrating properly, taking in proper nutrition, and really important things like that. So saddle up, tighten your cycling shoes, and let's ride. Okay, here we are riding out of Tempe, Arizona. Going to do one loop of the bike course for the Iron Distance Triathlon in Tempe. Get you familiar with it, as well as get a good aerobic endurance workout in. This first section here is obviously pretty flat as we head out of town. And for the most part, the entire course is fairly flat and fast, with some false flats here and there, and of course headwinds. The winds can be a factor, as can be the overall temperature. After all, it is Arizona, it's going to be hot, so you have to have some heat training in order to do well at this race. But we're heading out right now, and for this particular workout, we're just getting warmed up. So I'd like you to be in your small chainring on the front, around your 15 on the back, and just soft pedaling. Get your cadence up around 90 RPMs. Start getting warmed up. Let the heart rate start drifting up, and then we'll be working a little bit harder as we get into this workout. You can see Arizona State University to the right there. Tempe's a great town as far as a race venue goes. College town, lots to do, so you're going to have a good time when you come out to do this race. There's the stadium, and your family's going to have a good time as well. So really good race venue, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So we're just heading out. Let's get that cadence up around 90 RPMs or somewhere in that range. As you can see, we're cruising along here at around 20 miles per hour for this training ride. And I'm just pedaling at a nice steady cadence, not really working too hard, but just warming up. So if you're on a trainer, let's go to your small chainring on the front, 15 tooth on the back. That's somewhere in the middle of that rear sprocket cluster. And if you're on a spinner bike or other stationary bike, we use a scale of difficulty from 1, which is really easy, to 5, which is really difficult, high resistance. Right now you want to be on a 1 or 2 as you're starting to do your warm-up. And again, get your cadence up somewhere in that 90 RPM range. If you're using a power meter, you're well below your threshold power right now, just getting warmed up. So as you can see, it's pretty flat at the beginning, and while that's pretty good in terms of your ego and seeing how fast you can go, on race day it can be dangerous too, because a lot of times on race day you get out of that water and you're just ready to hammer it. You feel good, glad to get the swim over with, and you're out on the bike and you're on a flat stretch road like this. There's a lot of people around. The crowds really get you fired up, so it's really easy to take it out 25 miles per hour, especially if the wind is at your back. So you'll start working hard at the gun. But for the Ironman distance, that's never a good idea. You've got to selectively burn your matches And if you burn your matches at the beginning of the bike, you are in big trouble later on in the marathon. So my suggestion is, for this Ironman and all Ironman events out there, try to keep your cadence under control, your pace under control, and if anything, be very conservative, especially in that first hour or so on the bike. Don't let your nerves and your high energy dictate your pace. Be smart about it and go out with more control, and again, a little bit easier than you might want to. Keep that heart rate down, keep that cadence up with those smaller gear inches. Don't hammer it. It's what iron distance racing is all about. It's about patience and knowing when to push and how hard to push. And of course, there's the nutrition factor as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that over the next hour and 45 minutes or so. So nice steady pace, still keeping your cadence around 90 RPMs. Just keep it smooth. You should be down your aero bars, so if you're on your bike, on your trainer at home, let's get down on those aero bars, because this is absolutely an aero bar course. You're going to be on your aero bars a solid 95% of this course, and if you're looking for your best performance, you want to make sure you maximize the aerodynamics of your bike, of your equipment, of your position, and everything else. That means race wheels, preferably a disc on the back and a deep dish rim on the front, aero helmet, skin suit or tight tri uniform. Maximize your aerodynamics, because that'll give you an additional half a mile per hour, if not more. And half mile per hour over the course of an iron distance, 112-mile bike race, it's a lot of time you'll save. So work on your aerodynamic equipment. Looks like we're going to make a left turn up here, so let's get over. Always signal in traffic. Coming up to the light. Okay, we're rolling through. Get out of saddle a little bit, get the momentum going, get the speed up a little bit, and then right back into your rhythm. Easy so far. We're still warming up, so I don't want you putting too much energy into it. We were on Rio Salado Parkway to begin, and now it looks like we're on McClintock Drive for a little while here. So it's an urban start. Looks like we have another light. Figures, right? We always hit the red lights. But keep pedaling at home. Of course, this is a preview workout, just so you can see the course and get a good training session in, so you have an idea of what you're in for on race day. On race day, of course, you'll be able to go through these lights. There'll be a police officer directing traffic and letting riders go through. Alright, we're back. So start pedaling again if you haven't been already. Get that cadence back up. Still in the small ring on the front and around your 15 on the back. Get that cadence up around 90 RPMs. Get a view there of Tempe Town Lake. Roads are in decent shape, not great shape, but in decent shape, so shouldn't have too many worries there on race day. And as you can see, it's pretty flat and fast. Still cruising along. Keep that cadence up, 90 RPMs. Getting down the aero bars, you do the same. Make sure you practice riding down in the bars. You have to practice that in order to become comfortable. Get comfortable and efficient in the aero bars. And that's an important point. Aerodynamic positioning, I mean, like I said before, equipment is key. It's going to help save some time for you, improve your bike split, but your position is even more important. So you want to try to reduce your frontal area as much as you can while still maintaining a strong position for producing power. So there's a compromise at times. You see some people who are super low at the front, but they're uncomfortable and they're not able to transfer maximum power to the pedals. So you need to strike the balance, and it's tricky. It really is. The first step, of course, is to find a really good bike fit company who can give you that baseline, set you up on the bike so that you're comfortable yet producing maximal power. And then what you need to do is to tweak your position based on how you feel. And that takes some time, like I said. I mean, really accomplished cyclists will carry their Allen keys with them and work on tweaking positions so they find that sweet spot where they just feel really strong. So that's what you should do on your own. Some bike fit companies are now using power meters and adjusting your position based on power output and biomechanical efficiency on the bike. And that's a good idea. If you can find somebody who's offering that service, I would really recommend that you do it. So we're making a right turn here, as you can see. Car's stuck behind traffic. So come on back up to my wheel here. Ride back up to my wheel. Pretend that you're sitting on my wheel. Of course, you can't draft on race day, but this is a training ride, so let's be social. Come on up to my wheel. There you go. There you go. Talk about what's going on. Talk about what you're having for dinner tonight. So I'm cruising along here on my Kestrel airfoil and very comfortable on this bike. I fidget a lot on the bike though, as you'll see. I move around a lot on the saddle, changing my position. So please bear with me. I think it's a good idea to change your position subtly on the bike as you ride so you don't fatigue specific muscle groups as quickly. On this bike I'm riding I ride basically a 57 centimeter, in most cases 56 for time trial bikes, 57 for road. I'm riding 175 millimeter cranks, and I have a traditional chainring setup on this bike. 53 on the front, 53, 39 I believe, and then I've got my 1123 I believe on the back. This kind of course, yeah, you can go with the bigger gear inches. I think an 11 for a strong rider makes sense. Not for everyone, of course, because most people won't be able to push an 11, and you shouldn't, because if you, again, burn your matches on the bike, you won't be able to run well. So you have to weigh that too. Most people can get away with a 12 as their smallest cog on the back. But let's, again, keep the cadence up around 90 RPMs and maintain that same gearing. Small chainring on the front, 15 on the back, and make sure if you're on your spinner bike or other stationary bike, you're on a 1 or a 2, and just keeping that cadence up as we continue to warm up. You're down in the aero bars, and once in a while, every 10 minutes or so, make sure you hit that water bottle. I'd suggest that you have some sports drink in that water bottle, even for your indoor trainer ride, because in a 2-hour workout indoors at any given heart rate, you'll see how much you sweat. So just imagine how much you're going to be sweating out there on that course where the temperature is going to be 90 degrees or more, and it's going to be dry. You won't even know that you're sweating because it is so dry. So that's why having a hydration strategy in place makes a lot of sense. If you try to go by thirst in an event like this, then you'll get behind the 8 ball pretty quickly and you will become dehydrated. Looking out for traffic here a little bit. Stay with me, cruise along. As you can see with my position, I try to keep my knees in towards my top tube, and I try to keep my upper body nice and relaxed, nice and still, to transfer all my energy into that rear wheel. Okay, here we are again. We're heading off. Again, keep your gearing where it is, and when we stop in the video, you can certainly keep pedaling, but bear with me as we try to adhere to traffic laws. I actually did this race its first year back in 2005. The course was a little bit different back then. They've made some modifications since, but I enjoyed it. It was a good race. Again, Tempe is a great town to host an event like this, and I think you'll really enjoy your Ironman Arizona experience. And I live in Tucson, Arizona, which is about 2 hours away. Tucson is becoming a mecca for triathletes, triathlon training. They have a bunch of great athletes come to this town, especially in the winter months. And if you're ever looking for a great wintertime training camp, either for cycling or triathlon, you should look us up, because we've hosted training camps in the month of March for the past 9 years now, this being 2010. And we have great camp experiences. So if you're looking for a March vacation training camp experience where we climb Mount Lemmon and Gates Pass and put in a ton of miles in the sunshine, then look us up at coachtroy.com or spinnervols.com and come on out to camp. Love to see you there. Still cruising along, keep that cadence up. If you want to shift gears a little bit to maintain a high interest level and focus, you can certainly do that. But I do want to maintain a cadence up around 90 RPMs. You should be in your aerobic heart rate zone, whatever that means to you. Zone 2 is typically what I would refer to as an aerobic heart rate. So, maybe at least 15 beats or so below your lactate threshold heart rate right now. And just kind of hanging out there. Not a super hard effort. Again, this is an aerobic endurance workout. That's the focus. We don't do any tempo or any intervals really in this particular workout. It's more so to preview this course and let you build that aerobic foundation. So that's what we're trying to do here. Race day strategy. Again, I just want to remind you, this first section is really fast, and you want to make sure that you scale yourself back and discipline yourself to stay under control and not really burn your matches, or at least many matches here at the very beginning. I like the matches concept, metaphor, I guess, because it gives you a good sense of what's required in long distance racing. Essentially everyone has a match book with an X number of matches in your match book. And it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the winner of these events, the top pro in the world, or you can be a beginner. We all have a certain number of matches, and if we burn them too quickly, we won't be able to get to the finish line the best way possible. So everyone's got to conserve their matches during the different legs of this triathlon, or any long course triathlon, so that you time it out so you burn your last match when you cross that finish line. That's what's ideal. So try to keep that in mind as you're out here on the bike. Keep that cadence up. I'm a big advocate of high cadence, as you probably know if you do my Spinnerville workouts, because high cadence or higher cadence spares your legs from fatiguing prematurely. If you push the big gear, mash the big gear at a low cadence, you're going deep down into different muscle fibers, different fiber types that fatigue sooner than your slower twitch muscle fibers that are more oriented to aerobic activity, aerobic training and racing. So that's why you don't want to mash those huge gears at 70 RPMs, because you'll fatigue faster. And remember, this is not a bike race. It's not a bike race. It's a triathlon. So people who are successful
in triathlon, any distance for that matter, but in particular Ironman distance racing, they are really strong on the run. And one of the reasons they're strong on the run is they know how to conserve on the bike so they can run to their ability, run to their potential. So keep that in mind. It's not a bike race, it's a triathlon. And I can't tell you how many times I hear from athletes how fast they went on the bike, and it's a big ego stroke. Wow, I split 5 hours on the bike, or they beat their buddy on the bike, but then they ended up walking a 5-hour marathon. Well, that's not the idea. I bet you if they would have gone 5:15 on the bike, they probably could have run a 3:30 marathon. So giving up a little bit on the bike oftentimes means that you're going to run faster and you're not going to suffer. Capture your training data from heart rate to power to cadence to distance to speed, practically everything uploaded to your favorite software or coaching software program. There's so many different ways to track your information, and I think that's great stuff. However, it's not for everyone, and that's okay too. I know of a lot of really great athletes who go by feel, don't even use heart rate, don't even use any of these different training measurement devices, and they do fantastically well. I'm a little bit of both. I do like technology and use it. I use it with athletes I coach and use it for myself periodically, but then again, I also like to just go by feel and go by my perceived effort. I think the more experienced you are, the more you can go by your perceived effort and have great results. So I suggest a blend of technology and a blend of just it's fast, and you will have wind shift on you on this highway. So be prepared for that, because you could have a tailwind heading out, and this is an out and back. So we're going to do a turnaround, and that tailwind will turn into a headwind or vice versa. So again, be prepared. We're going to start raising the intensity a little bit now that we're out on the highway. So what I'd like you to do is to shift to a harder gear. I'm going to suggest that you go to your big chain ring on the front now if you're on a trainer, on your tri bike, and if you're on a spinner bike, let's go to a level 3 or 4 on that scale from 1 to 5. Okay, so you can choose your own gearing, but I want your resistance level to go up, and I want you to start picking your intensity up a little bit now too. So let's start letting the heart rate come up a little bit higher, bumping up against the upper level of that zone 2 heart rate into zone 3 a little bit. So maybe 10 beats or so below lactate threshold heart rate, which for many of you will be an ideal heart rate range in which to race this distance. So we're kind of getting up there at your Ironman race pace effort, in some cases, maybe at the lower end of that. Because again, this is a training ride, so we don't want to push it too hard. I think you should plan on some quality in your weekly training program, some threshold work. I even like power work, even for Ironman distance athletes, high-level power work, because that will help enhance your So that's why Ironman distance athletes need to have so much aerobic-based training in their program. So certainly if you're interested in learning more about how to train for the Ironman distance or any triathlon distance, we do offer training programs incorporating the Spinnerbles DVD series as well as personal coaching. So you can go to our website to learn more about those programs. We have them at all levels and at all price ranges. So we're cruising along here, this fairly heavily trafficked road, as you can see. But we're cruising along here, and again, your heart rate, your effort, and your output is up a little bit. You want to start bringing it up. Keep that cadence up there, though. Once you get used to that 90 RPM range, become comfortable. For most people, 85 to 90 RPMs is that sweet spot cadence. So let's get it up there and practice getting your cadence up in that range. You can see I'm cruising along at a steady clip, trying to avoid any road debris. There's some glass out here on this day, and obviously it's Arizona, so you're going to have some cactus needles out there, little things like that could cause a flat tire. A lot of the people who train, race in Arizona will use gator skins or other tires that have a little bit more puncture resistance to them for that reason. So if you're doing this race, I would avoid those super lightweight race tires that are out there. They're really thin casing, because you could get a flat, and that can not ruin your day, because you should know how to change a flat pretty quickly. It shouldn't take any more than, say, 3 minutes, but still 3 minutes. If you're a competitor and you're looking for that Ironman Kona slot, 3 minutes could be the difference between first and fifth place, and difference between getting a Kona slot or not. So I would opt on the side of getting a slightly heavier tire that has greater puncture resistance for a race like this. And obviously, if it rains a few days before the race, which you might be getting to the tail end of monsoon season out here in Arizona, so there can be a lot of rain, the roads get a lot of debris on them, so you need to be careful. Cruising along here though, get that cadence up, 85-90 RPMs. Let's keep it nice and steady. Keep your output nice and steady. Here I am standing up, stretching it out a little bit. Why don't you do the same thing? Stand up, stretch it out. Not a whole lot of scenery in this course, as you can see. You see the mountains up in the distance, but I would not call this the most scenic Ironman distance race course out there. But it is a fairly big city Ironman, and got a lot of positives to it because of that. So we're cruising along. Now, another thing I want to mention is you notice how I'm trying to ride in a straight line. Of course, there's some deviation from that every once in a while. I'm trying to ride that straight line, and that's an important strategy, because if you weave around a lot, let's get over here. Must be a lot of debris in the road. Get over a little bit. Yep, look at all that stuff. Don't hit that. So if you weave around a lot, obviously the fastest distance between two things is a straight line. So even when you're time trialing like this, you want to try to get that nice straight line and not weave around a whole lot. People don't think about that, but in a 112-mile race, a lot of movement back and forth laterally will slow you down. So ride that straight line. Stay down those aero bars. Get used to those aero bars. Let the aero bars be your friend. Get back up on my wheel. Stay on my wheel. Just a reminder, you want to drink every once in a while, so reach down, grab that water bottle. If you have a water bottle drink system in the front, which I do recommend, have one by your aero bars. You should be hitting that bottle frequently, so make sure you do that. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition now that we're into this ride a little bit. Nutrition is just so key. I usually say it's 33% of your success or failure in the Ironman distance is your nutrition. You can be very, very fit, very well prepared, but if you don't hit your nutrition just right, you're not going to have the kind of result that you want. So coming up with your strategy is just really important. It's a key component to Ironman distance racing success. Hydration, calorie intake, and also electrolyte intake are all those key areas. So you need to work on that part of your game prior to starting the race and have your plan laid out. Know exactly how much when, how, what, all these different things. Solid foods versus semi-solids like gel products versus the chewing products out there. There's so many different ways to get your nutrition in, and it just really depends on what you're able to tolerate and what your body is able to use most effectively. Some people like solid food out there. Some people can't eat any solid food, so this really is a very individual thing. There are basic guidelines though that you should probably start with as your baseline, and then modify that baseline based on your own individual needs. Typically, calorie intake wise, we're looking at anywhere from 200 to 300 calories an hour. That's typical for most people. Of course, that is going to be dependent on your body weight, your metabolism, all these different factors, your experience, etc. Hydration wise, you're probably looking at around 40 fluid ounces on a hot day, if not more. Some people have extremely high sweat rates. They might need 80 fluid ounces per hour out there on the bike. These are all things that you need to figure out on your own in training before getting out there on the race course. I, for one, have a very high sweat rate. I sweat so much, I can't believe it. It's interesting. When I was a younger racer in my 20s, I didn't sweat a whole lot. Now that I'm in my 40s, I sweat a whole lot. And that's been a factor for me with cramping. So I've had to change my game plan because of age. And I know I'll continue trying to tweak that as I continue to race as a masters athlete. One thing I've learned is that if I don't really supplement well with electrolytes, I cramp after about 3 hours, maybe even 4 hours. But at the 70.3 or half Ironman distance, or the Ironman distance, I just cramp, and it's horrible. It's a performance race-ending type cramping experience. So I've worked hard to try to figure out how to alleviate that problem. And for me, I found, at least with some level of success, that hyperdosing electrolytes has worked for me. And that means taking in a lot of electrolytes each hour, more so than the manufacturers might even recommend. Of course, that has some of its drawbacks as well, but it's something you might want to have to consider if you're a cramper. But also making sure I'm hydrating well, because like I said, I sweat so much, so I make a point to hydrate really well. Turning around there, I was talking to the car. We'll pretend I was talking to you though, because you are riding on my wheel. Keep that cadence up. Keep that cadence up. Get into a rhythm. This is a steady state effort. As you can see, there are not a lot of hills. In some of our other virtual reality workout DVDs, we have a lot of climbing and a lot of rolling hills. If you did our Lake Placid workout DVD, for example, or our Louisville ride, look at that bug. Wow. So you'll notice this is really steady state. We're kind of staying in that same gear range, and I just want you to dial it in. This is a good aerobic endurance training workout, and this is exactly the kind of output that you're probably going to be experiencing out there on race day. Again, depending on the wind, but there's not a whole lot of climbing that you're going to do in this race, so just keep it steady. Keep that cadence up. Reminder, cadence up, 85 to 90 RPMs. Stay in that nice aerodynamic tuck. Just ride in that straight line. Keep your knees in your top tube. Looking strong, looking strong. Cruising along with me here. We're going around 23 to 25 miles per hour right now. It's cruising along at a nice steady clip. Your power output is certainly below your functional threshold power for this kind of effort. Steady state aerobic endurance. Getting into low zone 3. So if you're using heart rate monitor, you're probably about 10 or so beats below your lactate threshold heart rate. Keeping that nice steady cadence, nice rhythm on the bike. As you can see, we're cruising. We're going along at a nice clip here. I'm wearing our 2010 Spinnervals Racing Team kit. We have a bunch of those out there now. A lot of our fans and athletes are wearing those this year. And we're updating our kit for 2011, and we'll be doing so each year thereafter. So look for our new team kit online at spinnervals.com. And also, while I'm mentioning it, we do have a social media presence on Facebook, Twitter, Daily Mile. So if you are into social media stuff and you want to stay on top of what we're doing at Spinnervals, please be sure to log on to Facebook and look up Spinnervals and become a fan. Love to have you there. We offer specials on our products and other specials for our loyal fans. So let's keep it steady. Let's maintain your focus. Now, what happens when you lose focus? Well, it's pretty easy. When you lose focus, you slow down because your cadence drops, your output drops. Race course like this, which might not be the most exciting in terms of scenery, you can sometimes lose your focus. So it's really important that you maintain your focus on the bike, and that's why I like that cadence meter, because it keeps you honest. Certainly power meters do as well, because you can dial in your power zone, but cadence will have you stay right in that sweet spot cadence, 85, 95 RPM, somewhere in that range. Back down on those aero bars, get that cadence back up. It's getting hot out here. One strategy you can use on a hot race day, like you're going to experience in Arizona, is to always take a water bottle with just water in it, and periodically during the course of the bike, douse yourself with the water, the cold water, over your head, over your shoulders, on your legs, so that you assist with the cooling. So keep that little strategy in mind. Don't do that with Gatorade though, because you'll be really sticky. So cruising along 85 to 95 RPMs, down on the aero bars. You're in the big chainring on the front. You're at a resistance level of a 3 or 4 on your stationary bike. And you are working at a rate that is comfortable, but it's steady. You know you're working it. Your heart rate's up there, but you're not riding tempo. You're not time trialing this. You can do your time trial workout later on in the week, like spin intervals 14.0 or 22.0. I mean, there's a lot of different choices to crank out that high intensity threshold type workout, but this isn't really the purpose. That's not the purpose for this particular workout. This is a steady state aerobic endurance session, giving you that preview so you know exactly what you're in for. Make sure you take a drink every once in a while. Keep it steady, keep it steady. Some more road debris, watch out for that. I'm not riding a disc right now for this particular workout video, but as you can see, I do have a set of deep dish rims, carbon deep dish rims on this bike, which is a good choice for this course, especially if it's windy. I do think that you probably would be better suited to ride a rear disc, especially if it's a calm day on this kind of fast course. You'll get a slight aerodynamic advantage from riding a disc wheel on this course. So if you have one, for race day, I would suggest putting that on there, and of course a deep dish rim on the front. It's all the package, so you know those aerodynamic helmets, they might look really goofy, but they have been shown to reduce your time out there and be more aerodynamically efficient than a vented helmet. Of course, you have to weigh the advantages of aerodynamics versus the cooling effect of a vented helmet on a hot course like this. So you will see some top pros that will wear a vented helmet, a regular road helmet, because they feel that it cools them down more. Aerodynamic helmets have cooling vents, but certainly not as many as a regular helmet. So you have to weigh the pros and cons of each, and watch out for that boat. A boat in southern Arizona. What do you think of that? But there actually are lakes and bodies of water out here. Not many, but there are. I love the desert. Love the desert. Love riding in Arizona. Great riding. And again, I'm from Tucson, living in Tucson, so fantastic riding up in Tucson. Or down in Tucson, actually, from Phoenix. I'm originally from the East Coast, Maryland, and love going back there, but not in the wintertime. It's nice being out in Arizona if you're an outdoor sports enthusiast or fitness enthusiast and you like to ride your bike and run and swim. It's nice to be in Arizona in the winter, that's for sure. So you're getting out of your saddle now and you're pumping away at the pedals, stretching it out, stretching out the hamstrings, stretching out the glutes, just stretching everything out, the lower back, and then let's get right back down into your rhythm here. Get that cadence up. Keep that cadence nice and steady in that 85 to 95 RPM range, and keep that heart rate up there in that high aerobic range. Looks like we have a little bit of a climb here. Nothing severe though, nothing severe. Still cruising along. Of course, you can listen to our music as background music in this workout. DVD, or you can listen to your own at home by using the music on, music off function that comes on this DVD. Unfortunately, if you're streaming or downloading this workout, you don't have that same capability. But if you're at home using this DVD in your computer or your DVD player, you can use the music off option and just listen to my voice instruction and listen to your own music in the background from your own music player. Or you might choose just to turn my voice off too and just watch the workout. I will not be offended, I promise. But we're still just cruising along here. Let's keep that cadence up. Maintain your focus. It does look like we have a little bit of a grade here that we're climbing, but it's hard to tell from this workout video. But I want you to keep that cadence in that 85 to 90 RPM range or so, and I want you to still maintain that steady state high aerobic effort. So adjust your gearing or the resistance on your trainer so that you can do that. Get back down on your aero bars. That nice steady rhythm. Now it's really important when you're getting ready for your Ironman race or any key event or A race, prioritizing your races from A, B, and C, A being your key event each year, or maybe two of them because you might be able to peak twice in a year. B events are important races, but you might rest or taper just a little bit for them. C events are basically training days or training events where there's really no taper. But I really think it's important for every athlete to become race ready and to avoid what I call race rust. And race rust is basically not having races under your belt in preparation for your big event. In order to race well, you need to race frequently. And that means at all distances. So even preparation for the Ironman, you'll see the top pros doing Olympic distance, 70.3 or half Ironmans. They'll do those shorter races in preparation for their Ironman event. They're just getting their bodies and their minds ready to be race ready, basically, to be competitive. And if you don't race frequently, you lose that. You lose that edge, that extra 2%. And that extra 2% is the difference for a lot of people between getting a slot to Kona or getting their PR or finishing in the top 30% of their age group, whatever it might be. So I really am a huge fan of racing fairly frequently, not over racing of course, and there's a fine line, but racing frequently enough that you have that extra 2%. You're just on. You're on, and your mind is ready to commit to the output it requires to race well on race day. So try to schedule yourself and your season so that you have a good mix of racing A, B, and C races throughout the year. You'll see some top athletes actually race once every 3 weeks, at times once every 2 weeks. Earlier in the year just to get that form, that race form, and then if they have a late season Ironman, for example Kona, which is obviously all the top athletes, their key event, they'll take some, not time off from training of course, they're building volume, but they might take several weeks off from racing at that point because they've already got their race legs under them. So there's a lot of different ways to approach key events. This race being very late in the year, basically November, it's a little bit tricky because you can race all summer, but then there might be a period of time where you need to take some downtime because you don't necessarily want to try to maintain your peak form all summer long. You can't, basically. So it's a little bit trickier getting ready for that super late season key event, but it's doable. And what I recommend is that you consult with a coach or somebody who has experience in terms of scheduling training to prepare people for their key event. Consult with them in terms of setting up your schedule each year so that you have a general idea of how each race fits into your overall plans. Okay, have to keep that cadence up. Keep that cadence up, 85, 95 RPMs. Choose your gearing. Again, high resistance. Let that heart rate just steady state. What you might find is now that you've been into the workout now for a while and your body temperature, core temperature starting to rise, your heart rate might start to rise too, and that's called cardiac drift, and that's normal. Obviously, you try to reduce the amount of drift by hydrating well and maintaining a cooler body temperature by hydrating effectively, and that's one of the basically challenges of doing a long course hot race like you'll experience this particular Ironman distance in Arizona. Core temperature goes up and people who are not acclimated to the heat have some difficulty. So try to acclimate as best you can. If you're from the East Coast, Upper Midwest, in a November event like this, it's difficult for sure because, you know, leaves have started to turn. You're starting to ride in 50-degree temperatures, 60-degree temperatures in some training sessions, and then you come out to Arizona for a race where you're going to be racing at probably temperatures in the 80s. That's a disadvantage, but you can still prepare and be ready. One thing I would recommend doing is trying to get out to Arizona several days in advance. Not only for the time zone change and to adjust to that, but also just to be able to get out into the heat for a few days for some mental confidence. It takes a couple weeks ideally in the heat to get that real physical adaptation, but you know, if you have that luxury, you should do that as well. But I do know of a lot of athletes and have coached a lot of athletes from cooler climates, and like I said, I'm from the East Coast, so I used to go to Kona and train in preparation for Kona on the East Coast, where, you know, 60 degrees, 50 some degrees. When I'm going out on training rides, I'm wearing tights and jackets. But you can still prepare. I know people who will train in a sauna or spend time progressively in the sauna in preparation, so there's a lot of ways to get ready. Looks like we're going to make our U-turn up here, so let's get ready for that as we come up to the light, and then we're going to make the UE and we're going to head back. And as you can see, we've been going downhill here for a little bit, so we're going to be heading uphill for a little bit as well as we start heading back in. So keep pedaling. You can reduce your intensity a little bit right now, take a little bit of a rest because you've been riding along for a while at a steady state high aerobic clip. So soft pedal a little bit right now as we wait for this light, and then we're going to roll through the light and do a U-turn and heading back up the hill. Here we go. So on race day, you'll come through and obviously you'll probably be out of the saddle like I am right now, gaining back your momentum, heading back up, and you can definitely tell there's a grade here, and again, wind is a variable, so you don't know if you're going to have a headwind or tailwind. Just be mentally prepared for both. You have to have patience for this race because it's a 3-loop course as it now stands. So, you know, realize you're going to be doing this whole thing 3 times. So in your training, obviously we have recorded 1 loop here. In your training efforts, you might want to do this 2 or 3 times, at least once or twice in preparation, just so that you have that sense or feeling of what you're going to feel like that 2nd or 3rd loop. Obviously, the ideal race strategy is to try to even split each loop. If you ever do that, let me know, because that would be hard to do, honestly. But if you can, that's your ideal scenario. I think one very important thing is at least you will probably slow down with each consecutive loop, but try to minimize that damage. So in other words, pace yourself so that your 3rd loop is, you know, maybe within 10 minutes, if not less, than your 1st loop, if at all possible. That way, again, you'll be able to run much faster and have a more comfortable run than if you hammer that 1st loop and then totally fall apart by the 3rd loop. I know it's common sense, but you'd be surprised how many people will not heed that advice. Okay, back down to your aero bars. Let's get back in your rhythm now. So go back to that higher resistance, big chain ring on the front, and let that heart rate start coming back up. As you can see, it looks like we have some downhill coming up, so get that cadence up. Try to hit that sweet spot around 90 RPMs. Nice rhythm. See way up ahead, a little bit of a climb. Now, further up ahead. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's definitely hard to tell when you're getting, if you're getting a downhill or an uphill or just a flat. But as you can see, the roads are in good shape, nicely paved. There's that little rumble strip between the cars and you, which is good. Obviously the white line is right there. But, you know, decent road surface, so it makes for some fast riding. Get into your rhythm. Knees in your top tube. Upper body's nice and relaxed. Get right on my wheel. There you go. A little bit of silence there to let you concentrate. Just stay on my wheel. Just as a reminder, keep your cadence up. Get to that sweet spot cadence range and get into that resistance level on the bike or on your stationary trainer or spinner bike that you're working it. You know, you're not hammering, but you're working it. Don't burn all your matches on your first loop. I think it's really important that if you're an Ironman athlete that you develop this endurance mentality. So that's why I think it's actually a good idea to force yourself at times to do a workout like this on the trainer and maybe be on the trainer for several hours. I know how hard that is, so if you can do that, you're going to have a big step up mentally, big advantage mentally over people who can't have that or don't have that ability to endure the mental, sometimes torture of sitting on the trainer for over a couple hours. But I know athletes who do all their training on the trainer, and it's exclusively on the trainer. And they'll do their 5-hour rides on the trainer too. And I've got to tip my hat to those people. I am not one of those people, that's for sure. An hour. I like up to an hour. Trainer work is unbelievable in terms of the quality it can give you or offer and what you get out of it. Unbelievable. Just the efficiency of getting on the trainer for a short amount of time. Unbelievable. And maybe that's why spinnerals are useful because they give you that structure. Working out at those high intensity intervals, you can bang it out in an hour or less in many cases in our series, but we also have workouts that are aerobic endurance workouts that, are 3 to 5.5 hours. So it's dependent on what the athlete's needs are and how these different workouts fit into their individual program. But now with over 40 Spinnervals titles in our collection, in our series, there's not one event out there that you can't prepare for training with Spinnervals. We have basically every kind of cycling endurance event covered, from sprint distance tries to preparing for the Leadville Trail 100 mountain bike race. So we're cruising along here, as you can see, at a nice steady clip, probably going around 23 to 25 miles per hour, and just enjoying the day. It's sunny out, it's warm. I'm looking at the trees and the bushes right now. It looks like the winds are minimal right now as we're riding. Get out of the saddle here, hop up, stretch the legs out. That's it. You have to do this on race day. Back down, have a seat, adjust yourself a little bit on the saddle, and then you're back down your aero bars. There you go. Just cruising along, 90 RPMs, moderate resistance, thinking about your good form, down in those aero bars, knees into your top tube, pumping away at those pedals. Ride that straight line too. You can see me getting a little bit sketchy there on the bike as I might be losing a little bit of focus because of that big bug crawling at me right now. But try to maintain that straight line as you ride. There you go. Straight line. Come on, Troy, ride that straight line. So one strategy you might want to use when you're out there racing your Ironman to help you maintain your focus is to tape some comments to yourself on your handlebar stem or top tube that you can look down at periodically, just to remind yourself of what you're doing out there, what your reason for being there is. I know some people tape pictures of their kids or their family on there on the top tube, just to give them a little bit of inspiration every once in a while. But I would also suggest taping some key words, like go fast, or key statements rather, go fast. I used to put on there when I was racing as a pro back in the 90s, I would put on there suffer, just to remind myself to be on that edge at all times, that red line. So just another suggestion to help you stay in the moment and focused on your task at hand. On race day, you'll get a lot of cues from other riders because you'll see riders coming down the other side, being an out and back, and that's usually good to see. You'll see the folks out there in front of you and behind you, and just get a general sense of where you stand in the race, at least on the first lap and the second lap. After that, things really get spread out, and obviously you have your professional athletes that are competing for the prize money, and they'll be doing this race in under 8 hours and 30 minutes. And then you'll have athletes that are considered mid-pack athletes who will be coming in after 11 hours, maybe between 11 and 13 or 14 hours. And then you have your people that are finishing the race, getting to that finish line before the cutoff time, and they'll be coming in anywhere from that point all the way through midnight, which is 17 hours. And everyone's got their reason for being there and going through the challenge of preparing for and doing an Ironman. In any case, no matter what your reasons are, it's commendable and something that you should be very proud of, because it's quite an event to finish. And once you finish one, you want to do it again. And you want to go a little bit faster. And it's all good. Still in your nice rhythm. It looks like we're going uphill here a little bit, so if you want to increase your resistance a little bit or more on your trainer or on your stationary bike, you can go ahead and do that. But we're just cruising along. This is Beeline Highway, and in the actual race instructions or bike course instructions, just so you're aware of this, it's this Beeline Highway, Route 87. The southbound fast lane and shoulder, that's where you'll go left on Beeline. So when we were coming off of McDowell, we made a left, and you're on the fast lane and shoulder, and then turn around before Shea Boulevard into northbound slow lane and shoulder. And it says this is actually still the southbound side of the road. So be aware of that item as you're out there on race day. But nevertheless, this still gives you a good idea of what the course profile looks like and what the roads look like out there on Beeline Highway. So we're heading back in. Maintain that rhythm. You're down in your aero bars. Keep that cadence up. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. up around that 90 RPM range. Don't bump into these road signs. Green light, you can stand up a little bit, stretch it out. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Back down the saddle, get that cadence back up. Get that cadence up, come on. Down the aero bars, that's it. Come on, keep that cadence up. Nice steady rhythm. Steady state, that's what we're looking for. RPM. Try to ride that straight line. Stay on my wheel, ride that straight line. Alright, now let's not lose our focus. Let's maintain our focus. Keep that cadence up. Check out that cadence meter. Make sure you're in that 85, 95, 90 RPM range or so. And let's keep that heart rate up there in that higher aerobic heart rate range as you ride the steady state DVD. I know there's not a whole lot of excitement to this workout in terms of gear shifting and changes, but that's just the basic nature of this course. I mean, you'll be changing a little bit more on race day for sure because of the winds and subtle changes in terrain and the grade, but for the most part it's like this a lot. That steady state, solid aerobic effort. Cruising along again at 23 to 25 miles per hour on some of these stretches where we have some tailwind. You can see the bushes to the right waving around a little bit, so there's some wind out there. I'm not sure if it's a headwind or tailwind. Let's pretend it's a tailwind because tailwinds are more fun than headwinds. So yeah, we're cruising along probably a little bit over 25 miles per hour. nice supple pedaling style. Make sure you're nice and smooth there on the trainer. Get down on those aero bars, get down on your drops if you're on a road bike, and just hang in there with me. If you are a triathlete and this is one of your goals to do this race, I highly recommend that you ride on your tri bike. Get used to that position, get your muscles dialed in for it. Looking good. Good job. Good job. Now, one strategy, you're doing this workout. Maybe it's a 2-hour workout for you with a little bit of warm up and cool down. One thing you might want to do is to incorporate this as your aerobic endurance workout each week, and immediately after transition directly into the run. So if you're training indoors and your house is set up with your workout area set up with your trainer and your treadmill, when you're done this workout, why don't you hop on the treadmill? I think that's a great way to finish out a good solid aerobic endurance workout for any triathlete, is to get used to that bike to run transition. So hop on your treadmill, set that treadmill on a 3% grade, and run for 30 minutes, and maybe you'll cover 3 miles to 4 miles in that 30-minute time period. But that's a great 2.5-hour training session you'll benefit tremendously from. So just one idea for you. And like I said earlier, well, stand up here. Let's stand up. Stretch the legs out. Stand out with me. Stretch those legs out. That's it. That's it. And have a seat and get right back into your rhythm. Like I said earlier, you might want to do this loop a couple times just to really get a good sense of what it's all about in one workout. Make it a 4-hour workout, and then get off and do your transition run right after. So make that part of your weekly training program, and I think you'll definitely see the benefits from it next season. In fact, I know you will. Right now you're still pedaling along, nice steady clip here, 90 RPMs, and you're staying highly focused and engaged in this workout. You're not letting yourself get bored, and you won't let yourself get bored out there on race day either. Just can't let that happen, and get that bug out of the way. Bug does not want to leave the camera lens. Now you see one of the reasons why athletes post such great times on this course, especially on the bike, because again, it's not considered one of the more challenging bicycle rides in the Ironman circuit. So it's definitely pretty fast, but it doesn't matter, because 112 miles is 112 miles, and again, if you overcook it and burn your matches too quickly, you're not going to be able to run well. And it's not a bike race, it's a triathlon, which means you have to be able to run really well off the bike in order to have success at this distance. So again, like I said before, you're better off giving up a few minutes on the bike and giving yourself a better chance to run strong than trying to push it on the bike. Yeah, you might go a few minutes faster and you might beat a couple friends, but I guarantee if you're walking the last 10K, you're going to regret having pushed a little bit more on the bike. So keep that advice in mind. And if you find that advice helpful after you've done your Ironman event, let me know. I'd like to hear about it. Or if you have other thoughts or comments, you can always feel free to reach me directly at troy@coachtroy.com. I always look forward to receiving emails and feedback from athletes who do the spinner bowls and other DVDs in our collection. Both good and bad. I like to hear constructive criticism and feedback as far as what we can do better to produce a better product, as well as what we are doing well, doing right, so that we can continue doing those things that are right. Still cruising along, keeping that cadence up. Your gearing is up to you. Again, I'm going to suggest that you keep it in a resistance level that is fairly challenging. It's moderate. It's comfortably uncomfortable, and you're just hanging out there for the steady state aerobic endurance workout. You know, we're hitting both the cardiovascular system and we're also hitting your muscular system. So we want to make sure that you do create some muscular fatigue, but in the right way. So that's why we want to maintain that higher cadence in that 90 RPM range. I don't want you mashing the big gears in this particular workout. We have other days of the week. There's a triathlete there on our left with the bike on the roof rack. Watch out for these cars. But you can hit the big gears and the tempo work at during another workout this week if you'd like. Okay, made the right turn. Now we're starting to head back. We're off Beeline Highway now. Starting to head back. And we're probably just over 20 minutes or so away from finishing up this ride. So good job so far. Make sure you drink. Make sure you take in some calories. You'll probably want to take in some calories now as you prepare to finish up the ride. Certainly on race day at this point, you know, what's your strategy? You're on loop 3, you're almost done. What do you start thinking about 20 minutes to go before your run? Well, you want to think about preparing for the run and start going over the transition in your mind. You know, how are you going to go through that? That's one thing, of course. You want a quick transition. But I think you should also start preparing your body for the run. Your body is more capable, you're more able to digest and absorb your fluids and your calories right now, since your body is you're not jostling around on the run. And even though your metabolic rate has been high and your body's starting to get fatigued and dehydrated and temperatures up, you're still in a lot better shape right now to absorb calories and fluids than you will be on the run. That's just the nature of our sport and any long distance endurance athletics. So I would maybe slow down a little bit in terms of your speed and your output, and start drinking more. Start taking in some more fluid. Start taking in a little bit more calorie right now while your body is still able to absorb it. That's a pretty good strategy. And again, the electrolyte thing, the electrolyte issue is key and critical. So take in some electrolytes, maybe even start spinning the legs a little bit higher cadence, a little bit less resistance, back it off a little bit in terms of your speed, stand up a little bit more, all these different things to start preparing your body for that run so you can get off of the bike and start running strong. So we're going up here, we're going to make a left turn. Stay with me, stay on my wheel. Looking good. Left turn. No cars coming, clear right, clear left, and right through. Back down the aero bars. Good job. Get aero, get low. Get low, get aero. So again, bring the cadence up, maybe go to a slightly easier gear inch, and hopefully if this is lap 3 for you, you still got good legs. You know, you're thinking to yourself right now, I am feeling pretty strong. You know, I've paced myself properly. I'm right where I need to be to run well off the bike. If you feel blown apart right now and it's lap 2, you might be in some trouble. But if you've gotten through that lap 2, you're going into lap 3 even, and you're feeling strong, I think you're in good shape. You're in good shape to run strong. Steady state, high cadence, keep it up there. Nice job, nice job. Keep in mind too that training for Ironman distance racing, it's a year-long process. You know, you don't just, well, you can certainly just jump into a training program and do an Ironman. That's certainly a possibility, and people do it a lot. But to really do this stuff well and to reach your goals, I think that you need to make your triathlon training, your multi-sport training, a year-round endeavor. And you're always working on different areas, different skill sets, different areas of your fitness. And that's what makes this sport so incredibly awesome. So you can always figure out a way to improve your game, because we're basically doing 3 sports combined. So it's not like you're doing an individual sport, you're doing all 3 combined. The swim leg, always working to improve your technique so that you become more efficient per stroke and learn how to move your body more effectively through the water. But also your conditioning. You need to work on the conditioning part of your swimming too. You can't just rely on drilling all the time. You've got to swim hard, you've got to do intervals, you've got to do tempo work. It's not all about just streamlining and improving your stroke count per length. It's everything works together to become a better athlete.
Okay, we're coming in towards the end of the first loop, second loop, or third loop, whichever one you're on. Again, make sure you're drinking a lot. Get into that sweet spot cadence for this aerobic endurance workout. Try to get in that proper heart rate or power zone as well. Looking strong, looking strong.
On the bike side of things, obviously we have the conditioning piece is very important. You know, put miles in on the bike, but it's got to be the right kind of mileage because you have limited time. You're not like the pros, most likely, who have the ability to ride 30 hours a week. And even if you could, you probably wouldn't want to. Not only mentally would it be difficult, but physically, a lot of age group athletes aren't able to really adapt to that kind of training workload without getting injured or overtrained. So it's a matter of figuring out how to maximize every workout. So you need to stress all the different energy systems through your training. That's why you need to do threshold work. You need to do your long aerobic endurance training. You need to do technique work on the bike. You know, look at accomplished riders and their pedaling style. They're just so efficient that they maximize their energy output. So they produce maximum watts per kilogram at the lowest metabolic cost possible. And that's what you want to look for as a cyclist. So work on these different areas. Now running, you know, that's a tough sport for everyone unless you come from a running background. But again, it's a matter of working on the conditioning aspect of it and putting in the aerobic endurance runs and the tempo work on the track or fartlek training, hill work, etc. But it's also a matter of balancing that with your recovery, because more people get injured running than anything else. So you need to be careful you don't load yourself too much with volume because then you'll get hurt. So an injured athlete is not really an athlete anymore. They're just recovering from their injury, and they're exercising to try to stay in shape. So you've got to basically balance that equation, and pushing yourself a little bit too hard sometimes is not a good idea, because you can end up getting hurt. In many cases, you might be better off going into these big events a little bit undertrained, maybe more so than you think you should, just so that you can toe the line 100% healthy. That's half the battle right there, just being healthy going into the start line. And as you get older, any Masters athlete knows, it's easier to get hurt. I mean, every time I go out for a ride or run or swim, a little ache and pain here or there, I'm kind of thinking to myself, this could be one of those injuries that keep me out of training for a couple weeks. So you're always towing that fine line, and you're probably better off erring on the side of being conservative most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, as opposed to opening yourself up to getting injured. Younger athletes, it's a little bit different. I mean, when I was in my early 20s and racing hard and training athletes who were in that age, pros, elite age groupers, they bounce back fast. So you can beat them up with volume and intensity. They come back pretty quickly. But let me tell you, once you get past the age of, say, 35, things start changing. And then, obviously, as you get older, it changes even more. So that's why personalized training plans are so effective, especially when they are personalized to the point where they can be modified daily and weekly, as opposed to just following some kind of cookie cutter program. Back on the bike, let's continue to keep our cadence up. As you can see, we're getting back into town. A little bit busier, more lights, a little bit more urban, more cars, so you got to be careful, especially if you come out to Tempe for a training weekend to preview the course in person. It gets a little bit dicey in some of these busier areas, so just be careful. That's why you should just stay at home and do all of these Spinnervals DVDs instead. Keep that cadence up, 90 RPMs. Back down the aero bars. Back down on your drops. Steady state. See how I'm riding a pretty straight line here, and you can see behind me, just keeping my knees into the top tube, keep my upper body pretty still, and my legs are just pumping away, doing the work. Doing a good job. I hope you enjoy these on the road virtual reality workouts, previews of the various race courses out there. We have a bunch. As I mentioned before, we have several well-known events: Lake Placid, Madison, Louisville. We have some Tucson training rides, which are pretty cool: Mount Lemmon, Gates Pass. We have this one. And we're continuing to add new workouts like this to our collection. So be sure you check back, or get on our Facebook page, or get on our mailing list so we can inform you of our new releases. And I also want to remind you, if you ever have the desire to escape winter, come to one of our Tucson training camps in March, or even one of our race preview camps that we do have for these different events: Madison, Lake Placid, Louisville. We have a bunch of race preview camps where you get to train on the course. We have training lectures. We have all support, SAG support on the bike, group dinners. It's a good time, and you get some really good training in too. Getting over in the left lane here. Keep that cadence up. Keep that cadence up, and watch out for traffic. Rolling up to a light. Making a left turn. Stay with me. Stay with me. Just keep that cadence up. Watch out for this car. Always makes me nervous when cars start pulling out fast like that. You never know what they're going to do. You never know if they see you. But you can see this is a nice town when it comes to cycling. Bike lanes. Motorists around here are pretty used to seeing cyclists. There's a lot of events around here. A lot of good triathlons, in fact, around here, around Tempe Town Lake. So again, it's a really great race venue, triathlon race venue for anyone from the Southwest. And if you're from another part of the country, keep in mind that, you know, triathlons aren't very big in the summertime here in Arizona when the temperatures get up over 115 degrees on a daily basis. So the race season starts early and then it picks back up in the fall. So if you're ever interested in testing yourself early in the year, you should look into some races in this part of the world or part of the country. Come out here and start getting your race legs. Keep it steady, still that fairly high resistance, moderate resistance level. Keep that cadence up. We are almost finished, so maintain your focus. Again, if this is race day and you're on your third loop and you're coming into the run transition, then you know you're probably starting to dial it back now because you're less than 10 minutes out. And this is where, again, you want to start thinking about spinning a little bit more, standing up a little bit more, and just transitioning your legs into some more of a running mode. Some people even click out. I don't recommend this unless you have really good bike handling skills, but they'll click out while they're riding with one leg and stretch their leg, pull it back, you know, do a quad stretch or something, a hamstring stretch, in preparation for the run at around this point in time. So just a strategy, but don't try that at home unless you have really good bike handling skills. I should probably put a disclaimer now on the video saying don't click out with one leg and stretch. Again, please don't do that unless you're really good at handling your bike. Going under the bridge here. Getting pretty close to that finish line. Take in some fluids, start drinking as you're about ready to approach the finish area for the bike. There's Tempe Town Lake, or part of it. It's where you'll be swimming. Or will have swam, actually, if you've done the race before. Stay with me, we're almost there. Almost there. It always feels so good to get to the end of a long ride, doesn't it? Keep it steady, just keep it steady. Coming up to a light, you can just soft pedal as we come through this light. And we're rolling through. Catch back up to my wheel. There you go. Arizona State will be coming up on the left again here shortly as we come back into the middle of Tempe Town. Like I said, it's a great area, great venue for a race. Just come out here, visit, do the bike course, go for a nice run on the trail along the lake. Have all kinds of restaurants in town. It's a nice place. Keep that cadence up, maybe bring it up a little bit more at this point. Reduce your resistance. Less than 5 minutes or so to go, so reduce the resistance on your trainer. Bring the cadence up a little bit more and stand up a little bit. Again, preparing yourself for that bike to run transition. If you're doing this as a training ride, consider going on a run right after. Transition, take 2 minutes, throw your running shoes on, and hit the treadmill or hit the roads for a quick run. Even 15 or 20 minutes will help train you to better handle that bike to run transition. So even a short run makes a lot of sense if you're a triathlete. Looking good, and we're almost done. Comes the stadium up on our left. Made that light. Now if you want a real challenge, if you see that mountain up ahead and that antenna or whatever that is up at the top, there's a path that takes you up there from the down below, from the very foot of that little mountain. If you really want a challenge, finish up this bike ride on a training day and then run as fast as you can up that path and see if you can make it all the way up without walking. That promises to get your heart rate up really high. Coming into town, let's keep that cadence up, reduce your resistance a little bit, maybe go to your small chain ring now. As a training ride, you're almost done, start cooling down. As a race simulation ride, keep that intensity up a little bit higher before transitioning to your run. But we're coming towards the end. Take another drink. Start preparing yourself mentally for that run. Nice job. Almost there. Great workout. Good luck to you on race day.
Good ride. So there you have it, the one loop of the Iron Distance race course here in Tempe, Arizona. As you can see, it was flat, a little bit windy out there, but for the most part, very fast and certainly very hot as well. So you really have to focus again on your hydration, really nailing that down as well as your pacing, because this is a 3-loop course. Just a lot of technique that you need to incorporate, finding that sweet spot cadence building your threshold in your training process and your aerobic endurance. And that's how I recommend you do this workout, as an aerobic endurance workout, zone 2 to zone 3, and just hang out right there, and it'll really help prepare you for a race day. So if you have any questions, please get in touch with me at troy@spinnervals.com. Also, we do have training camps here for this particular event, as well as others across the country, and we also have training plans. So please visit our website at coachtroy.com. Until we train together next time, train safe and train smart.